Hello, my friends. Welcome back to SBS English Podcast. Let's practice English together, step by step. Have you ever felt stuck when trying to speak English, even after studying for months or even years? Maybe you know all the grammar rules, conjugations, and textbook vocabulary, but when it comes time to actually speak, the sentences just don't come out naturally. In today's video, we're going to explore exactly that. The phrases native speakers really use in everyday life, the ones textbooks rarely teach, and how you can start using them immediately in practical situations. Picture yourself at a restaurant in the United States. You might have memorized the sentence, "I would like to order, please." But when the waiter quickly approaches and says something like, "Hey, what can I get for you today?" You freeze, unsure how to respond naturally. Situations like this are extremely common, and this is exactly where textbooks fall short. They teach grammatically correct phrases, but these phrases often sound stiff or too formal for everyday conversations. Our goal in this video is to help you notice these nuances and learn short, clear, and practical phrases that sound natural and are easy to understand. Another typical scenario is at the airport. You're carrying your luggage and need to ask about your boarding gate. A textbook may have taught you, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the boarding gate is?" Which is perfectly correct. But in practice, a native speaker might say something much shorter and direct like, "Which gate for flight 213?" Or simply, "Gate 213, please." The difference is subtle, yet it completely changes the fluency of your communication and how well you're understood. This video will show you exactly how to make that difference in your own speaking. Before we dive into practical examples, let's talk about the most common mistakes that students make when learning English only from textbooks. These mistakes may seem small, but they are real traps that block natural communication. One common mistake is overusing long formal phrases. For instance, saying, "I would like to request the menu if possible," may be correct, but it sounds like you're taking an exam. In real life, native speakers simplify, "Can I see the menu?" or just "Menu, please." Notice how simplicity makes your speech sound natural. Another mistake is focusing too much on perfect grammar. Many learners try to construct flawless sentences, but this can hurt spontaneity. For example, when you want to express surprise at some news, textbooks might suggest, "I am very surprised to hear this information," which is grammatically perfect. But a native speaker would probably say something much shorter. "Wow, really?" Or "No way." These expressions are instantly understood, convey emotion, and keep the conversation flowing. Word choice is another critical point. Textbooks often teach precise words, but not the ones used most in everyday speech. For example, you might have learned, "I am exhausted," which is correct, but in casual conversation, saying "I'm beat" or "so tired" sounds more natural and closer to how people actually talk. Learning these alternatives is crucial if you want to speak like a native. Now that we understand why these mistakes happen, let's introduce the technique that will transform the way you speak: shadowing. Shadowing is a guided imitation practice where you listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say, trying to copy their rhythm, intonation, and pauses. This method is far more effective than memorizing isolated sentences because it trains your brain to react and produce natural English automatically. Let's try some small examples. Imagine greeting a coworker in the morning. A textbook might teach, "Good morning, how are you today?" which is correct, but in practice, a native speaker might say something like, "Morning, how's it going?" Or simply, "Hey, what's up?" The difference is that these expressions are short, quick, and commonly used. To practice shadowing, listen carefully, repeat immediately out loud, and pay attention to rhythm and intonation. Repeat several times until it feels natural. Another practical example is ordering food at a cafe. Textbooks may suggest, "Could I have a coffee, please?" But listening to native speakers, you'll notice they often say, "Can I get a coffee?" or just "Coffee, please." By shadowing these more natural versions, you internalize the way natives speak. This improves both pronunciation and confidence, making it easier to speak without freezing. In addition to shadowing, there's another helpful technique called chunking. Chunking involves breaking down a sentence into meaningful parts instead of processing word by word. For example, when you hear, "Can I get a coffee with milk and sugar?" You can mentally divide it into chunks. "Can I get more some coffee with milk and sugar?" This way, speaking becomes faster and smoother without having to think about the translation of every single word. To sum up, this introduction aims to show real-life situations where learners often get stuck, highlight common mistakes made by textbook learners, and introduce shadowing and chunking as practical tools to speak more naturally. These techniques will lay the foundation for the exercises we'll cover in the next segment, where we'll demonstrate guided shadowing with mini dialogues and introduce additional phrases used by native speakers in everyday situations. Now that we've identified the typical traps of textbook English, let's dig a bit deeper into how these mistakes affect real communication and what you can do to avoid them. One of the main issues is relying on overly literal translations. Many students learn English by translating directly from their native language, word by word. While this seems logical, it often results in awkward sentences that sound unnatural. For example, translating "I'm looking forward to it" as "I am anticipating it eagerly" might be grammatically correct, but it sounds strange in casual conversation. Natives almost always prefer the simpler "can't wait" or "looking forward to it." By practicing these natural alternatives, you'll speak with more confidence and less hesitation. Another common mistake is overusing formal expressions. Textbooks often emphasize politeness and completeness, but in everyday conversation, people prioritize clarity and speed. Instead of saying, "I would appreciate it if you could help me with this task," a native might simply say, "Can you help me with this?" or "Mind giving me a hand?" The key is recognizing the situations that require formal language and when a casual version is acceptable. Overthinking grammar and politeness can slow you down and create awkward pauses. Idiomatic expressions are another area where students often get stuck. Textbooks sometimes introduce them in theory, but learners rarely understand the context or subtlety behind them. For instance, you may have learned the phrase "break the ice," but only in a textbook example like, "He broke the ice at the meeting." While correct in real life, a native might simply say, "Let's get started," or "Let's loosen things up" when meeting a new group. Understanding the practical usage of idioms will make your speech feel much more natural. Now that we've examined the common mistakes, it's time to move into shadowing practice, a powerful technique to help you speak like a native. Shadowing involves listening to a native speaker and repeating their words immediately, copying the intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation. The goal is to train your brain to produce English naturally without pausing to think about grammar or translation. This practice is especially useful for mastering phrases that textbooks ignore. Let's start with a simple dialogue at a cafe. Listen to this exchange. Native: "Hey, what's up? Coffee or tea?" You repeat immediately. "Hey, what's up? Coffee or tea?" Notice the casual tone. The greeting, "What's up?" is far more natural than "How are you?" in this context. By repeating it immediately, your brain starts to internalize the rhythm, making it easier to recall in real-life situations. Next, we have a mini dialogue at the airport. Native: "Gate 12. Your flight leaves in 20 minutes. You repeat, "Gate 12. Your flight leaves in 20 minutes. Here, the structure is short and precise. Shadowing helps you process the sentence as a single block instead of translating each word, which speeds up your reaction time when speaking. Another common scenario is casual conversation at work. Native. Morning. Did you catch the game last night? You. Repeat. Morning. Did you catch the game last night? This simple example shows how native speakers combine greetings with small talk naturally. Textbooks rarely teach these combined expressions, but they are essential for fluency. Shadowing them allows you to practice speaking smoothly, as if you were already part of the conversation. To maximize the benefits of shadowing, pay attention to intonation and emphasis. Notice how native speakers stress certain words or pause slightly between phrases. For example, in the cafe dialogue, "Hey, what's up?" has a rising tone at the end, signaling friendliness. Mimicking these subtle cues makes your speech sound natural and confident. Another tip is to practice chunking while shadowing. Instead of repeating word by word, break sentences into meaningful parts. Using the airport example, you can chunk it as Gate 12, your flight leaves in 20 minutes. This technique trains your brain to process and produce English in natural patterns, reducing the risk of hesitation or awkward pauses. Let's add one more practical dialogue, this time at a restaurant. Native. I'll have the burger, fries, and a Coke. What about you? You. Repeat. I'll have the burger, fries, and a Coke. What about you? Notice how quick and straightforward this exchange is. Instead of using long, formal sentences, natives prioritize clarity. Shadowing these common orders helps you respond quickly in real-life interactions. Finally, remember that repetition is key. Shadowing is not just about copying words. It's about absorbing the natural flow of speech. The more you practice, the faster you internalize these phrases. Start with simple mini dialogues, then gradually increase complexity as you become more comfortable. By the end of this part, your goal is to feel confident repeating these sentences smoothly, almost as if you're thinking in English. In the next segment, we'll focus on more advanced shadowing exercises, introducing additional phrases that the natives use in everyday life, from greetings and small talk to asking for help and making requests. We'll also practice mini checklists for each scenario, so you can apply these phrases immediately in your conversations. Continuing from our introduction to shadowing, let's dive into more real-life exercises. Shadowing is most effective when you practice short dialogues repeatedly until they become automatic. The key is to listen, repeat immediately, and mimic the natural rhythm, tone, and stress patterns of native speakers. Let's start with a simple greeting at work. Native. Hey, how's everything going today? You. Repeat. Hey, how's everything going today? Notice the friendly, casual tone. A textbook might suggest, hello, how are you today? Which is correct but feels formal and stiff. Shadowing. Hey, how's everything going today? Allows you to sound approachable and natural in daily conversation. Next, let's practice a short dialogue at a cafe. Native. Can I get a cappuccino and a croissant? You. Repeat. Can I get a cappuccino and a croissant? Native. Sure, coming right up. You. Repeat. Sure, coming right up. This exchange is short, clear, and practical. Shadowing these phrases repeatedly helps you internalize the natural speed and tone of native speakers. Practice saying it aloud, exactly as you hear it, until your delivery feels effortless. Now let's move to a slightly longer scenario at the airport. Native. Excuse me, is this seat taken? You repeat, excuse me, is this seat taken? Native. No, go ahead. You repeat, no, go ahead. This is a common interaction that many learners struggle with because textbooks rarely cover casual questions about personal space or seating. By shadowing this dialogue, you train your brain to respond quickly and naturally. Another key element of shadowing is repetition with variations. Let's take a quick mini dialogue in a grocery store. Native. How much is this? You. Repeat. How much is this? Native. It's $5.99. You. Repeat. It's $5.99. Native. Can I pay with card? You. Repeat. Can I pay with card? Notice the patterns: short, functional phrases, precise word choices, and natural intonation. Practice these dialogues several times, trying to match the speed and stress of the native speaker. The goal is for your brain to process and produce these sentences automatically, without pausing to translate. Now let's transition to Tópico 4, extra phrases and daily tricks. Here, we'll focus on phrases that natives use in everyday situations, along with mini checklists to make practice immediate and practical. For example, when asking for directions. Native. Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the nearest subway station? Shortcut phrases. Where's the subway? Which way to the station? Subway close by? Notice how short and simple these alternatives are. In real life, native speakers often skip unnecessary words, focusing on clarity and speed. Practice shadowing all versions, repeating each aloud, and notice the difference in flow and comfort. Another everyday scenario is ordering food at a restaurant or cafe. Native phrases to shadow. I'll have the chicken sandwich, please. Can I get a latte with almond milk? Could I get that to go? The trick is to practice not just memorizing the words, but mimicking the natural pauses, intonation, and tone of confidence. By shadowing these short sentences, you'll feel ready to order food without hesitation or mistakes. Let's look at small talk with colleagues or friends. Shadowing examples include, what have you been up to lately? Did you catch the game last night? That's amazing. How did you do it? These phrases are often ignored in textbooks, yet they are essential for maintaining casual, friendly conversations. By repeating them out loud, you train yourself to respond naturally and effortlessly in real life. A useful mini checklist for shadowing in daily life. Listen carefully. Focus on tone, stress, and pauses. Repeat immediately. Don't wait. Shadow in real time. Chunk sentences. Break down longer phrases into small, meaningful blocks. Vary scenarios. Practice greetings, orders, small talk, and requests. Repeat daily. Consistency is key to internalizing natural speech. Finally, here are a few quick tips for improving shadowing practice. Use videos or audio recordings of native speakers in realistic situations. Shadow in short, focused sessions of 5 to 10 minutes multiple times a day. Record yourself and compare your pronunciation, rhythm, and tone with the original. Gradually increase the complexity of dialogues as you feel more comfortable. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on fluency and naturalness. By combining these exercises with the mini checklists, you can quickly improve your speaking skills and feel more confident in real-life situations. Shadowing helps you internalize natural phrasing and rhythm, while daily expressions provide practical vocabulary to use immediately. Over time, these techniques will help you break free from textbook English and speak like a native. In the next segment, we'll continue expanding Tópico 4, exploring even more useful daily phrases, including polite requests, compliments, and conversational fillers. We'll also start the conclusion section with reinforcement strategies and tips for daily practice. Continuing with daily phrases and tricks, let's focus on polite requests, compliments, and conversational fillers. These are essential tools that help your English sound natural and fluent. Textbooks often ignore them, but native speakers use them constantly to keep conversations smooth and friendly. First, let's explore polite requests. Could you give me a hand with this? Would you mind explaining that again? Do you think you could help me out? Notice how each of these phrases is flexible and short. Native speakers often choose the simplest form based on context. sometimes even shortening. Can you help me? Mind helping? When practicing shadowing, repeat each variation multiple times. Try using them in different situations, at work, in class, or while helping friends. The goal is to make them automatic so you can use them without hesitation when needed. Next, let's look at giving and receiving compliments, which are frequent in casual interactions. That's a great idea. I love your outfit, it looks amazing. You did an awesome job on this. For a more casual touch, natives often shorten compliments or combine them with conversational fillers. Nice one. Looks great. You killed it. Shadowing these phrases will train you to respond naturally in social situations. Remember to match the intonation and energy of the speaker. Compliments often require a rising tone or slight excitement to sound authentic. Conversational fillers are another tool that makes your English sound smooth and natural. Examples include, like, actually. These small words help bridge ideas, give you time to think, and make your speech sound spontaneous. Textbooks rarely teach them, but they are essential for sounding like a native speaker. Shadow these fillers in context, combining them with phrases you've learned. That movie was really good. I think we should try that new cafe. Actually, I've been meaning to call you. By practicing these in your shadowing sessions, you develop a natural rhythm in conversation. These small expressions make a big difference in how fluent and comfortable you sound. Now, let's create a mini daily checklist to apply these phrases immediately. Greetings and small talk. Shadow phrases like, hey, how's it going? Or morning, did you sleep well? Ordering and requests. Use phrases like, can I get a latte? Or mind giving me a hand? Polite request. Practice. Would you mind explaining? Or could you give me a hand? Compliments. Shadow. Nice one. Or you did an awesome job. Conversational fillers. Use, and actually, in your daily practice. The key is repetition and variety. Don't just shadow one scenario. Mix greetings, orders, compliments, and casual fillers. This prepares you for real-life conversations and keeps your brain flexible in producing English naturally. Let's transition toward the conclusion. Now that we've covered practical phrases and shadowing exercises, it's time to reinforce your confidence and create a daily practice habit. Many learners hesitate to speak because they fear making mistakes, but fluency comes from consistent practice, not perfection. By repeating short, natural phrases every day, you gradually build a toolkit of sentences that you can recall effortlessly. A good strategy is to set small, achievable goals. Learn and shadow 3 new phrases each day. Record yourself repeating mini dialogues and compare with native speakers. Try to use at least 1 new phrase in a real conversation each day. For example, imagine a student who started practicing with shadowing only 5 minutes a day. They focused on short daily phrases, polite requests, and conversational fillers. Within a few weeks, they noticed a huge difference. They no longer paused to think of words, and native speakers responded positively to the natural flow of their sentences. This shows that even small, consistent practice can lead to significant improvement. Another important tip is mixing repetition with context. Don't just memorize phrases in isolation. Imagine using them in real-life situations, ordering coffee, asking directions, or chatting with colleagues. By visualizing the scenario, your brain connects the phrase with a situation, making it much easier to recall and use naturally. Finally, remember that shadowing is not just about pronunciation. It's about rhythm, flow, and confidence. Even if your grammar isn't perfect at first, the ability to produce phrases smoothly and naturally makes a huge difference in how fluent you appear. Over time, Grammar will follow naturally, supported by your growing confidence and automaticity in speaking. In the next and final part, we'll complete the conclusion, summarize all the key takeaways, and provide practical daily routines to ensure you can apply everything from this video. We'll also share a real-life success story from a student who transformed their speaking ability using these techniques, giving you both motivation and a clear roadmap to practice effectively. This is part 4, around 80 words covering advanced daily expressions, mini checklists, and the beginning of the conclusion. If you approve, I can proceed with part 5, which will finalize the conclusion, reinforce all lessons, and provide the motivational student success story for practical application. We've covered a lot in this video, from understanding the common traps of textbook English to shadowing exercises and learning everyday phrases that natives actually use. Now, let's bring everything together and focus on how you can build confidence and make these phrases part of your daily English practice. The first step to speaking naturally is consistent practice. Shadowing short dialogues, repeating phrases aloud, and chunking sentences into meaningful blocks allows your brain to internalize rhythm, intonation, and vocabulary. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's fluency. The more you practice, the more automatic your responses will become, and soon, speaking English will feel as natural as your native language. A useful daily routine might look like this. Morning practice, 5 to 10 minutes. Start your day by shadowing a short dialogue. For example, greet a colleague or a family member using a natural English phrase like morning. How's it going? Midday practice, 5 minutes. Shadow phrases for ordering food or drinks. Repeat sentences like, can I get a latte with almond milk? Or, I'll have the burger and fries, please. Evening practice, 5 to 10 minutes. Focus on small talk, polite requests, and conversational fillers. Practice, could you give me a hand with this? Or, that movie was really good. Breaking your practice into short, consistent sessions prevents fatigue and helps you retain more. Over time, you'll notice these phrases start coming naturally in real conversations. Let's review the key takeaways from this video. Textbook phrases often sound unnatural. Stick to short, practical expressions used by native speakers. Shadowing is your best friend. Listen, repeat immediately, and mimic tone, rhythm, and stress patterns. Chunk sentences for fluency. Break longer sentences into smaller blocks to speed up your speaking and reduce hesitation. Learn everyday phrases. Greetings, requests, compliments, orders, and fillers are essential for natural conversation. Practice consistently. Even a few minutes each day builds fluency and confidence. To motivate you further, let me share a real-life success story. One of my students, Maria, had been studying English for over 2 years but still struggled in conversations. She knew all the grammar rules but froze when trying to speak naturally. When she started practicing shadowing for just 10 minutes a day and focused on learning short, practical phrases instead of long textbook sentences, everything changed. She began with simple greetings and cafe orders, repeating the dialogues aloud and mimicking native intonation. Then she added polite requests, compliments, and small talk phrases. Within just 3 weeks, Maria noticed that she could respond in English without translating in her head. She started conversations with coworkers and friends confidently, using phrases like, "Hey, how's it going? Can I get a coffee to go? Nice one. You did great." What impressed her most was how quickly native speakers understood her and responded naturally. Maria's fluency improved because she focused on practical, usable phrases and shadowed them consistently. She realized that learning English doesn't have to be about memorizing long sentences or perfect grammar. It's about building a toolkit of natural phrases that you can use immediately. Now, Imagine applying the same strategy yourself. Start with 3 new phrases each day. Shadow them, repeat them aloud, and visualize real situations where you'd use them. Over time, these phrases will become second nature, and your confidence will grow. Soon, you'll notice you're speaking English more fluidly, responding naturally in conversations, and even enjoying interactions without fear of mistakes. Finally, remember, confidence and practice go hand in hand. Don't wait until you feel ready. The best way to improve is by actively using English every day, even if it's just with yourself while shadowing dialogues. Mistakes are part of the learning process. Each repetition, each practice session strengthens your fluency, your vocabulary, and your comfort with the language. To summarize, focus on phrases natives actually use. Shadow short dialogues repeatedly. Break sentences into chunks to speed up your responses. Learn phrases for greetings, small talk, requests, orders, and compliments. Practice consistently even in short sessions. Visualize real-life situations to apply phrases naturally. By following these steps, you'll gradually transform your English from textbook rigidity into natural, flowing communication. Remember Maria's story. Real progress comes from small, consistent efforts and applying practical phrases in real contexts. So start today. Choose a few short dialogues or phrases, shadow them, and integrate them into your daily life. Your fluency, confidence, and comfort in speaking English will grow faster than you might expect. With consistent practice, the phrases you learn today will soon become your everyday English, helping you communicate naturally and effectively.